Hello, this is Kerry with the April 2024 Vedic Astrology forecast. We're going to start with a summary from the 9 planets. First, the Sun. The Sun moves through one of the zodiac signs in about a month, changing sidereal signs in mid-month. The first half of April sees the Sun finishing up the annual tour through Pisces, but this year adding in a total solar eclipse at the new moon on April 8th. Pisces is a watery and expansive sign that supports transitions and endings. The eclipse energy could feel disruptive. Prepare for this and use the stall to gain deeper perspective on current situations. The Sun moves from Pisces to Aries on April 13th for a powerful month in its sign of exaltation. Finalize what is finishing and look ahead to pushing forward into new paradigms with the courage provided by the fiery environment of Aries. The Moon. We follow the moon as it waxes and wanes. April's new moon of April 8th shows the moon passing in front of the sun, temporarily blocking the sunlight in a total eclipse. This could be a good moment to decide to give the vulnerable feminine energy a bit more air time as we leave behind old patterns. During mid-April, the moon waxes, finally coming to the full moon in Libra on April 23rd, opposing the exalted sun in Aries. This could feel like a very exciting time, where new creative efforts begin to spin more quickly. Be in the energy of initiation as we approach a shift that requires us to nourish new life. Mars. The movement of Mars through the zodiac often reflects in how we express power, strength, courage, and aggression. In April, we see Mars making some moves as he's been operating backstage with plans in the near future to step forward and get to work. On April 10th, Mars conjoins Saturn, which could feel as if someone is dancing on the brake and gas pedals simultaneously. Friction could win the day. Bring your own oil. After that, Mars moves into Pisces from April 22nd through June 1st. Mars in Pisces through May should steam things along in the high seas of life. Mercury comes out swinging on April 1st by initiating a retrograde cycle while in the early degrees of Aries that takes him back into Pisces, where he regains direct motion on April 25th. This may look like a retreat after a recently emergent project or idea. Don't look at it as a failure, but rather as an information gathering mission, going back a few steps to make sure you're packing the proper items into your bags. When Mercury is retrograde in Pisces from April 9th through the 25th, we have a supportive environment for redoing, editing, and revisiting. Stay open to letting go of earlier analytics and absorbing new ideas and data. Jupiter. April will be Jupiter's final month of transiting through the fiery first sign of the zodiac, which began in April 2023. Jupiter's next step is from Aries into the sign of Taurus on May 1st for about 1 year. This could look like taking plans from the drawing board to the material stage, where we begin to dig foundations, plow fields, and frame out projects. With Jupiter in Aries in April, we may be finding our approach to launch what has been on the drawing board. Launching takes fuel, courage, and faith. There is not a better moment to gather these things and leap forward, especially toward the end of April, when the eclipse energy has cleared and Mercury resumes direct motion as Jupiter enters Taurus. Venus Venus energy connects us to the enjoyment of the material world and the personal nourishment that comes through union with others. The first few weeks of April sees Venus in exaltation, which could be shedding light on what is working or not working with relationships and other contracts. Venus is present in the eclipse energy that occurs on April 8th. Use this altered perspective to see deeper layers of beauty that inspire new directions. Venus moves to Aries on April 24th, joining enthusiastically the caravan of energy that is heading out for new frontiers. Venus reminds us that we can always make an effort to find comfort and nourishment, even in the midst of exciting campaigns. Slow-moving Saturn continues to hold space in his own air sign, Aquarius. This transit stretches from January 25th of 2023 through March 29th, 2025. Saturn's influence feels like increased responsibility, pressure, or long-term work. With this comes the side effects of separation, determination, and isolation. In the past few months, we've seen a small stream of planets passing through Saturn's seat in Aquarius. On April 10th, Mars catches up to Saturn, which could feel quite uncomfortable in an acute friction kind of way. After that, aside from the moon, Saturn remains alone in Aquarius through 2024, giving us plenty of time to get back to work on our long games. Rahu is the head of the celestial dragon, moving through Pisces from November of 2023 through May of 2025. One of Rahu's big flourishes of 2024 comes on April 8th, when the shadow created by the moon is cast on the face of the sun for a short spell as we experience a total solar eclipse at the new moon in the sign of Pisces. Rahu has a bad reputation for simply doing his job, mostly because people are afraid of the dark. Resist this fear and dissolve your ego in the shadows for at least a few minutes. You may access more information about your true desires. Ketu. From November of 2023 through May of 2025, Ketu will occupy the dual earth sign Virgo. With all of the planets concentrated in 3 signs during April, which are Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries, we may feel the ballast sliding about in the hold of the ship with the high seas raging in Pisces, which neighbors Aquarius on one side and Aries on the other. April could go down as an exciting month. The best use of the energy of Ketu and Virgo this month is to counterbalance the flurry of activity being stirred up in Pisces by digging in a little more firmly to your seat. This could look like spending time alone with hobbies, meditation, or a retreat to nature. For an in-depth look at specific planetary placements, you can continue to listen to this full forecast. Thank you for listening to the summary. Venus transits Pisces from March 31st through April 24th. Pisces is the nexus of activity in April, with Sun, Venus, Mars, and retrograde Mercury, and occasionally the Moon, making an appearance in Jupiter's watery final sign of the zodiac. Pisces is the environment in which we make a study of dissolution, expansion of vision, and actions which finalize, with the implication of moving into new territory. On March 31st, Venus moves from Aquarius into Pisces, making a quick sail through the high seas and transitioning into the new frontier of Aries on April 24th. Venus in Pisces is considered quite positive, reaching exaltation at 28 degrees Pisces, expressing the beauty of fully blossoming with wisdom and grace, absorbing the essence of the universe and simultaneously letting it go, flowing effortlessly. We look to Venus to inspire our creative juices to flow and to spark our desire for connection and oneness. The main influence in Pisces at this time comes from Rahu, whose transit there stretches from November 2023 through May of 2025. Rahu's influence can create a wild energy, which in an oceanic environment like Pisces could feel like big waves. Big waves can be dangerous, fun, and unpredictable. Venus's exaltation in Pisces could be both boosted and scrambled by Rahu's influence there. Rahu will also be the mastermind behind the total solar eclipse on April 8th, which is already becoming a thing to watch as we see April unfolding. Venus's presence will likely be a stabilizing force during this event, but we could also be dealing with those big waves nonetheless. On April 18th and 19th, Venus will have an encounter with retrograde Mercury as they meet in the late degrees of Pisces. This could be a short stretch where knowing what you want is difficult and expressing it is even more challenging. Perhaps avoid making these 2 days deadlines or planning important transactions. Taking a walk by the water with a friend could be much more productive. As the main indicator of relationships, Venus transiting through Pisces could signal chapters closing in the realm of connections. Rahu with Venus could signal that there are also new connections that may already be pulsing beneath the surface. This could be a time to take the risk and leap into things heart first. Overanalyzing could lead to mistakes. Trust your gut. Mercury retrograde, April 1st through the 25th. Venus's best pal, Mercury, moved into Mars's fire sign Aries on March 25th, but not to stay. On April 1st, Mercury stations direct at 4 degrees Aries in the nakshatra of Ashwini, associated with the Ashwin Kumars, twin horsemen who carry the power of magical healing. Almost as if Mercury realizes that he's forgotten something back in Pisces that will be a deal breaker going forward if he doesn't remedy the situation, he begins to walk back into Pisces, re-entering the wave pool on April 9th. As Mercury returns to Pisces, the Sun will move ever forward toward Aries, leaving Pisces on April 13th, and leaving retrograde Mercury, Rahu, and Venus to right the sails. This creates an interesting setup that will prevail for about 10 days, from April 13th through the 23rd, when Mars then joins the party, changing the vibe, after which we see Mercury regain direct motion at 22 degrees Pisces on April 25th, right on top of Rahu, and just after Venus exits to Aries on April 24th. All this to say, this could feel like a shifting time around April 24th and 25th, when Mercury goes direct, face-to-face with Rahu, Venus and Mars both change signs, and we find ourselves playing a new hand. During the time when Mercury is in Pisces but retrograde, we may actually find ourselves finding the solutions and answers that we are wanting. Jupiter's water sign Pisces is the debilitation sign for Mercury. But the retrograde status, especially combined with the presence of exalted Venus, could be quite positive. This would be from April 9th through the 24th. The last week of April, clicked into our new setting, will see us preparing to witness the moving of Jupiter from the sign of Aries to Taurus on May 1st. Pisces will be the main place to watch as Mercury, Mars, and Rahu occupy that final sign, cleaning up, cutting ties, and recognizing what we really, really want. With the image of Mercury crossing the border back into the past in order to integrate a final lesson and then preparing to move forward once again, we could translate that into using this upcoming Mercury retrograde to take care of business that may be impeding forward movement. Edit your game plans. let go of the tools that aren't working for the new vision, and find enthusiasm for how to forge new connections. New moon in Pisces, Revati, April 8th, total solar eclipse. In what is being called the Great North American Eclipse, we will see the joining of the Sun, Moon, and Rahu in the late degrees of Pisces, causing the Moon to pass in front of our view of the Sun, blocking the light of the great Sun temporarily as we experience a total solar eclipse, visible primarily in North America. Sun and Moon join at 26 degrees Pisces in the third pada of Revati Nakshatra, with the shadowy Rahu just a few degrees away, allowing for that near-perfect lineup of Earth, Moon, and Sun that blocks our view of Surya, the Sun, for just a few minutes. The small slice of Pisces that we call Revati, which stretches from 16 degrees 40 minutes Pisces to the border of Aries, will be the scene of this dramatic eclipse, bringing our attention to the matters we explore in Revati. The environment of Pisces is a water sign lorded by Jupiter. Revati marks the very last slice of the zodiac and is ruled by the planet Mercury. The last nakshatra of each water sign is ruled by Mercury and leads up to the Gandanta, or joining point, of the water and fire signs, known to signify challenging situations or transitions. Mercury will be crossing this Gandanta 3 times: March 26th, April 9th, and May 10th. The April 9th instance will be when Mercury is retrograde and just after the eclipse, again, marking a point in April that we may feel a shift. At the eclipse time, which is also the dark new moon time, with Mercury retrograde and falling backwards into the pool, we may suddenly be dealing with a set of circumstances that feels like a setback, with perhaps unexpected expense, or the disappointment of having to start over again when the planning has been so intense. With this in mind, create space in your schedule starting on Friday, April 5th for about a week, giving yourself more time to think, make adjustments, clear out the detritus, or whatever other activities may need your attention. This is the second eclipse in the pairing that kicked off with the lunar eclipse in Virgo on March 25th. The first half of April could feel like a very low tide, reveals so much that has been underwater, giving us more information about what to dredge out and what to leave behind. We may feel as if we are stretched to the limit of our elasticity. Be ready for the slingshot effect that comes when that stretched material is released. Things may begin to move faster as the spring season progresses. Mars and Saturn conjunction on April 10th. To add to the excitement of the second week of April, we have eclipse on April 8th, retrograde Mercury returning to the scene on April 9th, and then in neighboring Aquarius we have the exact conjunction of Mars with Saturn on April 10th. Saturn has been enjoying the status of transiting his own signs since January of 2020, when he entered Capricorn. In January of 2023, he moved to his adjacent air sign, Aquarius, where he will continue to cruise in first gear through March 2025. That's a solid 5 years of Saturn being in dignity, which means that we all get to learn his lessons of slowing down, building responsibly, detaching from things that harm us, and facing the cold, hard facts of life. Only one more year of this master's program. Let's make it good. Since Saturn moves so deliberately, it may be helpful to also pay attention to his transits of the nakshatras, which will move a bit more quickly than the signs, as they occupy a smaller space. Mars entered Aquarius on March 15th, and by March 24th had entered into the nakshatra of Shatabhishak, where Saturn has been slowly advancing since mid-November, when coincidentally Rahu and Ketu also changed signs. Rahu rules the nakshatra of Shatabhishak, which sits entirely within Aquarius, which is co-ruled by Saturn and Rahu. The point to get here is that since mid-November, slow and steady Saturn has been double-dipped in Rahu's instability, which could be manifesting in many of us feeling the need to pivot or to deal with unexpected developments, despite our strategy and planning. As Mars closes in on Saturn, we may feel more and more the push-pull dynamic that arises when these two workhorses get into the same project. Saturn's deliberate and slow approach can be quite frustrating to strategic and prepared Mars, who tends to blast through problems and projects. On April 6th, Saturn shuffles into Purvabhadra nakshatra, which covers the final 10 degrees of Aquarius and spans into Pisces. Purvabhadra is ruled by the planet Jupiter, who is also about to move out of Saturn's gaze on May 1st. Underneath this conjunction of Mars and Saturn, which will actually occur in the first pada of Purvabhadra, we may feel that the tide is turning, also echoed in the eclipse of April 8th. Saturn and Mars in the same space create friction. After Mars moves past Saturn on April 10th, that may reflect in a feeling a sense of moving forward being possible. After some years of feeling sluggish, delayed, and blocked, we may collectively and individually begin to see the road forward and enjoy the experience of planting seeds with hope. The Sun transits Aries from April 13th through May 14th. On April 13th, the Sun sidesteps the shadow eclipse axis and enters into Aries for his annual tour of Mars's fire sign, which exalts the Sun. For the final 2 weeks of April, we may begin to feel the heat with Sun and Jupiter in Aries. Since April 20th of 2023, Jupiter has been transiting through Aries, preparing to move to Taurus on May 1st, 2024. Jupiter is expansive, positive, and growth-oriented, and Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, associated with engineering strategies and pushing forward. The promise of Jupiter in Aries has been somewhat suppressed this past year, first by the confusing conjunction with Rahu through November of 2023, and also by the aspect of the strong Saturn from Aquarius, putting a stay on any big growth that we may have been expecting from Jupiter. With the powerful Sun taking up residence in Aries as Jupiter moves on to his next station, it may be a signal that the growth we've been hoping for and preparing the ground for may have a better chance at manifesting during the next few months. The Sun's transit through Pisces included a couple of eclipses, and in a watery environment could have felt overwhelming, as if too much shifting too soon was occurring. Sun in Aries could give us some traction, but don't expect to win a race easily, with Saturn still aspecting Aries and all of the planets that pass through there this spring season. Keep it slow and steady, but do put one foot in front of the other with the Sun as he marches through Aries from mid-April through mid-May. Mars transits Pisces from April 22nd through June 1st. Mars represents power, force, and strength. With these things in hand, we can advance our plans, protect ourselves, and consolidate resources. Mars's natural friends include the Sun, Moon, and Jupiter. When Mars is transiting through the signs ruled by those planets, Mars can do his job a bit more effectively. While Mars isn't a natural friend of Saturn, they do have a complicated relationship that results in Mars gaining exaltation in Saturn's sign of Capricorn. Mars passing through Aquarius was not as efficient, with Saturn actively stalling Mars's power. On April 22nd, Mars moves into Pisces, scene of the recent eclipse drama and still host to chaotic and unstable Rahu. The last transit of Mars through Rahu-occupied territory was June 27th through August 10th, 2022, when Rahu was in Aries. which could have yielded fiery and aggressive situations. July 2022 was marked by political unrest in Europe. The war in Ukraine was fierce, and the UK struggled under political crisis. By April 24th, the stabilizing force in Pisces, Venus, will move out, leaving Rahu, Mars, and retrograde Mercury splashing about in the vast ocean. The Lord of Pisces, Jupiter, will also be in transition as he crosses the border into Taurus at the beginning of May. This adds up to a potentially unstable environment in Pisces from late April through May. While instability isn't always welcomed, there are positive facets to this state of affairs. If what is desired includes transition, change, upgrades, or finalization, this could be just the energy you are looking for. If those things aren't desired but are happening anyway, dive deep into what may be coming into play outside of your awareness. There are big messages in the troughs of the waves we will be navigating, including the ironic necessity of making plans while also not being wed to them. Mars's head for strategy will be challenged by the erratic influence of Rahu. We may prosper from a combination of logic and luck with this planetary combination in Pisces. Keep swimming and keep breathing. Full moon in Libra, Swati, April 23rd. The moon becomes full at 11 degrees Libra in the second pada of Swati Nakshatra on Tuesday, April 23rd. Swati Nakshatra is ruled by Rahu, and Ashwini Nakshatra, where the sun is placed, is ruled by Ketu. This brings a wild card energy into this full moon, with the recent memory of eclipses, as well as the Rahu-Ketu nakshatras that are coming into play. Bringing the nodal axis and eclipse energy into the philosophical realm, we have been traversing this eclipse pairing as explorers of the shadow realm and through the modality of reversing the expected. For example, we count on the sun to rise in the east and set in the west each day progressing about 1 degree through the zodiac. Very reliable. Even the moon's constantly shifting phases and changes are predictable. When the nodes line up with these predictable illuminators, the lights go out for a short while as two bodies pass through an alignment that changes the predictable schedule by affecting the play of light and shadow. On an energetic level, this type of disruption could have occurred as we watched the eclipses. The moon reaches peak brightness and strength on April 23rd, in contrast to the full moon eclipse in March. This time, the moon stands opposite an exalted sun paired with a positive Jupiter. It will be time to initiate new cycles here, bathing in the moon-drenched creative ideas and finding the spark of life that advances what has been long sitting in the potential zone. This is post-eclipse, but that wild energy of the nodes is still simmering and expressing through Swati and Ashwini during this full moon. Even Venus, ruler of Libra, is enjoying peak exaltation during this full moon. Fill yourself up with all the nourishing inspiration. Venus transits Aries from April 24th through May 18th. Just after hosting the full moon, Venus gathers her belongings and disembarks into Aries on April 24th, moving through Mars's fire sign quickly, exiting to her own farmstead in Taurus on May 18th, where she will join the newly established Jupiter. As the sun enjoys his exaltation in Aries, flaming with little effort as the days become longer in the northern hemisphere, Venus emerges from the appropriately watery environment of her exaltation sign Pisces and bravely moves toward the powerful sun. This will put Venus into a state of combustion when we are no longer able to observe the planet due to proximity to the sun from April 28th through July 10th. Venus will pass behind the sun on June 4th, forming a superior conjunction, thus becoming the frontrunner of the inner planets for a short time as she transitions from morning star mode to evening star mode. When Venus and Sun have these interactions, we experience a shift of Venus's appearance. In this case, we had been seeing Venus appearing in the morning before sunrise in the eastern sky. But Venus disappeared from our view starting in March. This marked Venus's approach to the Sun. By late April, Venus is within 10 degrees of the Sun and will slowly move past him in the zodiac, moving out of combustion mid-July, when we will be able to see Venus once again, this time in the western sky after the Sun has set. This disappearance of Venus can sometimes correspond with a stronger emphasis on individual needs, desires, and actions, as the Sun takes precedence. May, June, and July may carry strong themes of balancing individual and collective needs, which often expresses in managing relationships. It may be a good idea to prepare for this in April by becoming clear about what those individual and collective needs may be, reorganizing and rebalancing where necessary before the rubber hits the road. Headlines for May. Jupiter changes signs from Aries to Taurus on May 1st. There is a new moon in Aries, Bharani, on May 7th. May 10th through the 31st, we will see Mercury transiting Aries. May 14th through June 14th is Sun transiting Taurus. May 18th through June 12th, Venus transits Taurus. Own sign, powerful transit. Mars will be conjunct Rahu exactly on May 19th. Venus conjuncts Jupiter exactly on May 22nd. Full moon in Scorpio, Anuradha, May 23rd. Thanks for listening to this whole forecast. Have a great month. See you in May.